Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the Honor T-28E with F30 to give it its full title, or just the T-28E as I'm going to call it. Now it's one of the ones that's come out with the Glory IS-5 as the Crimson Knights, and it's bundled up with that, with the Fatherland, with the Motherland, and a couple of other bits, and again will be coming in cheaper bundles as time goes on. Now it's Tier 4 medium Russian, and kind of looks like something out of Tom of the Tank Engine, which I mentioned before. So yeah, it really does look like it should be in there. Now I don't quite know what I was expecting with this. Possibly I was expecting it to sort of have the mobility of the T-28E with that gun, but then thinking back, that's probably unrealistic because that would have been too OP. Now, what this essentially is, it is an up-armoured, up-armed T-28. Now, there was supposedly, possibly a prototype of this, but there's no evidence that it was ever used or mass produced. Now, I've got the T-28 there. It was only very cheap, so I'll pick one up. You know, I've already been through it, so I decided to basically pick it up so we can do the comparisons a bit more, or a bit easier, but I don't really think we need to. Now, price wise, it's about 14 something, I think is the listed price. Yeah, 1,440 gold is the listed price. Now, the gun is the gun is the F30, the 85mm, which is the top gun on the KV1 at Tier 5, the heavy, but it doesn't get the same rate of fire. That gets about 12 or 14 rounds a minute. This gets 9.84. Again, it probably would have been a bit too OP, but you do get 120 penetration with 160 damage, 161 on your premium, and 43 and 280 on your HE. And it probably is worth taking some HE in this, because you're a Tier 4, you're going to come up against stuff that you could probably pen and wreck with your HE. You get the same 500 horsepower engine as a T-28 does, but you don't get the traverse speeds. You get 36 on your hull, 40 on your turret. The aiming time and the accuracy is pretty crap as well. 3.2 second aiming time, which is pretty horrific on this thing, and 0.43 accuracy, which can be a bit of a pain at range. And with this thing seeing up to Tier 6, you are going to have to be shooting at range as well in those Tier 6 matches. 350 meter view range, which isn't bad for the tier at all, to be honest, and quite a poor 300 meter signal range though, so you will have trouble keeping up with your teammates if they're on the other side of the map. Now, supplies wise, 109 for your armour piercing, so nice and cheap. 2,800 though for your APCR, which is premium, and 98 for your high explosive. Again, I've been very boring on the consumables. And equipment wise, I've gone for a gun lane drive, gun rammer, and coated optics. Again, I'm tempted to drop those out for vents though, to try and improve the reload on this, but the coated optics have been very useful in the higher tier matches, just allowing me to maybe not out spot, but at least sort of counter spot whatever's shooting at me, if you see what I mean. So yeah, that has been quite useful, but I am kind of tempted to drop those out. Now, crew wise, it's the crew from my Motherland, I think, that I'm doing up. And again, probably not far wrong, although off-road driving I probably would have swapped out for clutch braking, but yeah, to be honest, it's a pretty good starting point. 6 lanes, brother knowledge repairs, clutch braking, and situational awareness, and then probably camouflage as well. And that's probably not a bad starting point with this, but like I say, probably dropped the clutch braking for dropped off-road driving for clutch braking to try and improve that, because this kind of feels like a medium but with heavy tank mobility, and that's the first thing I noticed. Its power to weight ratio is nearly half that of a standard T-28, which is 29.45. That also gets 40 degrees of hull traverse and 44 of turret traverse. This gets a power to weight ratio of only 15.2, so nearly half, like I said before. Also with a reduced top speed of 35 km an hour, but you do get 20 km an hour in reverse, but you've got a 20% chance of fire, and the engine, it's not too big, doesn't take up the entire back of the tank, but it's from the back of the turret to the start of the slope. Now, gun wise, 25 degrees of elevation, so there's no problem there if anything gets above you, but only 5 degrees of depression. Again, it's a bit of a theme with the Russians, so people will be used to that sort of thing now. Concealment 0.22 stationary and 0.16 on the move. So again, not bad. Same really as the T-28. It's not a small thing. It's not massive. So yeah, it's not great concealment, but it's not the worst. That will be obviously slightly improved, as will the, I forgot to mention on the IS-5 review that I did earlier, that will be slightly improved because of the perma camo. Now the tracks themselves, your terrain resistances are 1.3, 1.6 and 2.8, so they are pretty poor. And the tracks aren't going to cover much of the hull, so there's plenty of spaces to actually get through them and into the hull. Turret on top, radio in the back of the turret on the bustle, the ammunition blocks, quite a few of them, and they're all sort of mainly in the centre of the tank. But there's a, you see that box on the side, and there's a bit of a gap, and then the mini turret on the front. Same on the other side, it kind of gives you a good indicator of where to shoot to hit the ammo rack. In fact, if you shoot in between that box and the mini turret, there's a good chance you're going to hit an ammo rack. Shoot below that box, there's a good chance you're going to hit an ammo rack. So they are good indicators of where to shoot. Oh, shell velocity as well on this thing. A little bit slow as well, so do bear that in mind when you are using this. You do have to lead a bit more. Shell velocity is always something I seem to forget about and miss. You do have quite a large crew in here of 6. You've got the driver in the centre, you've got a guy in each turret, and then you've got the commander, gunner and loader up in the main turret itself. Now, armour-wise, like I say, is up-armoured as well as up-armed. And your hull armour, well, instead of being something like 30, 20, 20, I think it is on a standard T-28 and about 25 all round on the turret when it's fully upgraded. On here you get 50 on the front, 40 on the sides and 50 on the rear as well, which is unusual. And the turret is also up-armoured, 50 on the front, 40 on the sides and rear. Now there's not a great deal to show you here, but you've got 1 to 20, which is most of the top surfaces of the tank as well as the tracks. However, you will notice that those boxes on the side, the ends of them also fall into that category. So if you do try and side scrape in this, be very, very careful about those boxes. And if one of these is trying to side scrape, try and go for those boxes because it's one of the thinner parts for you to actually hit and pen. 21 to 30, the hull floor, small section towards the back there of the hull just behind the tracks. And then basically everything else just falls into the 31 to 50 bracket, which there you go. Now if you are struggling to pen one of these things, because it's a tier 4, so tier 3s will come up against this and some of them will struggle to pen. If you can, try and go for that box at the back. If not, you basically want to try and go for the front of the mini turret. Even though it is still 50mm, it's flat, there is no angling to it. So if you are struggling to get through the front of one of these, that's where you want to go for, or you want to try and go for that box just on either side, because the front portion of it, as you can see where there's, well, let me put it back onto that one, you can see is thinner. In fact, it's only in the 1 to 20mm bracket, so that's only if you are struggling with one of these to pen it. And you know, I've come up against stuff that has struggled to pen it. I don't know if it was a Covenanter, or was it the tier 3 one, I can't remember, but anyway, it might be in a match that I used and it was just sort of dinging it off the front. So I think that's about it really. Anything else I'll try and cover in the match. But let's get into the replays and see how it actually handles. Now, first of all, this is, well, obviously it's not a full clip, I've started it part way through, but I just wanted to put this on here just to show you that in tier 6 matches, which this one is, I mean, obviously you've not got a great deal of health anyway. What is it, about 360, 380? My preview window is quite small. But you don't have a great deal of health anyway, and even though you do have that extra armour, 50mm on the front, there are certain things you have to be wary of, and in tier 6 matches there are certain things that can happen to you like that. So that was, well, yeah, not even a tier 6, that was tier 5, that was Panzer IV-H with the howitzer, and he just one-shot me. So yeah, you do have to be careful, even though you do have the extra armour. Now, first proper replay for you. This is a tier 6 match. Now, in tier 6, you're going to have to play this quite cautiously. You're going to have to stay back and stay in that supporting role. Your 50mm of armour is not going to protect you in a tier 6 like it would do in a tier 4 to a degree. And your gun depression doesn't allow you to sort of, you know, use the ridge lines and only expose a small amount of your tank. So you are going to have to think a bit more carefully about your placement in tier 6 matches. Try and go hull down if you can, but you're a tall tank. But even then, you want to have somewhere to pull back to after your shot in case you get spotted. And the other problem with staying back with this, of course, is the accuracy. It's not great, so it's not particularly conducive to staying back in that supporting role, because, you know, there's a good chance you're going to miss a few shots. And I've just got one picture of results at the end of this one, and it's more representative of sort of the average matches I had in this. And I'll, you know, be completely honest, I've not had loads of matches in this, but my average ones, because down at tier 4 it's not as bad as it is sort of tier 2 and 3, you know, fast and frantic and everybody's just sort of driving around, but a lot of people do. They tend to be more, I don't know if aggressive or overreach or whatever you want to say. Anyway, it tends to be a bit more close up and they get in there a bit more, and you do tend to get a bit spotted. And with this, in my average matches, I've normally managed to actually hit about 5 or 6 shots. Now in one of them, I mean, I can't remember which one it is. I've not used it, I don't think, but I think I fired about 15 rounds and about 6 hit. The ones that hit all penned, but that was just the accuracy, and I think that might have been a tier 6 match, and I had to stay back quite a bit. Because obviously, I mean, you just saw that Death Toaster then just give me a bit of a beating with one hit, and it took off over half my health. And again, that's a tier 5, so it does just sort of give you that indication of how cautious you've got to be in tier 6 matches. Now, with these videos, just a quick one, I don't know if I've come across slightly differently in one of my other videos or whatever, but anyway, regardless, sorry, just caught something there. The reason I do these reviews, it's not to try and sell these tanks for wargaming, because it doesn't matter one bit to me whether wargaming sell 50 of these or none of these or 500 of these. It makes no difference to me whatsoever. And the reason I do them is just to try and just give you lot the facts about the tank. I do try and give you my personal opinion sometimes as well, whether I like a tank or whether I don't like a tank, or, you know, I do try and do that and, you know, put my opinion in there occasionally. But, you know, it's not up to me. It's not up to me to say this is a great tank or this is a shit tank. Some people, you know, might love this tank and think it's a great tank. Other people might hate it and think it's really bad. That's down to personal preference. You know, every tank has good points and bad points. And all I'm trying to do with these is give you the facts about it. Try and just, like I say, give you my opinions on it, and try and point out if there's anything that's come up in, you know, while playing with this tank that's come up as a particular issue or a particular problem, that sort of thing, and do that. But, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't think I've ever said, you know, yeah, you should go and get this tank, or, you know, I might say, yeah, earn this tank if you can get it, or if you like this sort of thing, you'll probably like that. But like I say, all I try and do is just give you the facts about a tank and let you guys make up your mind as to whether you'd like to pay money for this tank or whether you're going to leave it, or, you know, etc. And if you're going to leave it, at least, you know, you'll know where to shoot at the thing, or what it can, you know, what it isn't capable of, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm not trying to sell these tanks, like I say, just giving you my honest opinion on them whenever I can, and just give, like I say, give you the facts. And with this one, I don't know, I was looking forward to this tank when I heard about it coming out, and thought, oh, T-28E with the F-30, and like I said in the garage, I don't quite know what I was expecting from it, but obviously if it had had the speed and manoeuvrability of a T-28 with this gun, some people, I don't know, it may have been OP, but then again, you'd have less armour, so in tier 4 matches you'd be just as vulnerable as you would be, you know, as you would be in a normal T-28. Because I mean, like I say, in the next match there is a couple of tanks that are bouncing off this. So in a way, is it too OP with the up armour? I would say in tier 6 matches and tier 5 matches, not really. No. because he's slower, you can't really get away. And, you know, your armour's not really going to protect you very much in a tier 5 and 6 match like it would in a tier 4 match. And again, to a degree, don't rely on your armour in a tier 4 match because it'll let you down when you least expect it. It doesn't hold up against Matildas, for example. And, but yeah, I don't know. With this gun and the extra armour, I think in tier 4 matches it may be slightly... I think it might be OP in your tier 4 matches. And I think that possibly if it had just literally been a T-28 with this gun on it, I don't know if you could have cut. It would have been a glass cannon, obviously, because you just wouldn't have had that armour. But you would have had the speed. I don't know. It may have been OP as an original sort of T-28 mobility with this gun, because of the speed, because you can just get in there and get out. But I don't know. Like I said, I've just no idea. But I think at the minute with the extra armour it's slightly OP in tier 4, and somebody raised a very good point with the Bogatyr that I missed actually, and it applies more with the Bogatyr than it does with this. There you go. Not a bad match, not a great match. That was a tier, like I say, tier 6, but not, you know, not great, not bad, just a bit of an average match, and just shows you sort of the limitation. You really do have to stay back because 1 or 2 shots in a tier 6 and you're dead. But yeah, going back to the Bogatyr. Now with that one, it does make a big difference because it's an earnable tank, so a lot of people can get hold of the Bogatyr without actually having to fork out for it. And they made the point of new players coming up, tier 3s, maybe get to tier 4, and they come up against a load of Bogatyrs that have been earned in a tier 5 match. And it was a bit like with the Motherland, you couldn't get anywhere near tier 8 without seeing at least 8 to 10 of them in a match. And if the Bogatyr is anything like that, can you imagine being a new player? You've just got to tier 3, done a couple of matches, get into a tier 5 match, and you know there's like 5 or 6 Bogatyrs on the enemy team. You are not going to stand a chance. Same in a tier 4. You know, it is kind of, if there's going to be a lot of them in the matchmaking at tier 5, it's going to put off a lot of new players that are just sort of getting to tier 3 and 4, and then all of a sudden come up against a fleet of Bogatyrs and just get annihilated without even being able to scratch the paintwork. So that, you know, they did raise a good point with that, and I'm sorry I'm terrible with names, but you know who you are. I think I responded to your comments as well, and I think this is going to do something similar to a degree. Now, it's not earnable. And to be honest, while getting the footage for this, I didn't see a lot of these tanks. So maybe it won't, but if quite a few of these get sold and there's a few on the enemy team, it kind of, you know, in top tier matches, it's new players might not be able to sort of go up against one of these without knowing, you know, where to shoot it, because like I say, that 50mm of armour on the front, it's not much in a tier 5 match because it's quite flat, but in these tier 4 matches it can make a bit of a difference. And but like I say, I mean, we'll have to see how many of these things actually end up out there in the matchmaking, but I mean, you can see the damage this thing does with each shot to the tier 4s and tier 3s as well. I mean, tier 3 TDs, I think it can one-shot them, or some of them it can anyway. I don't know if I've done that in one of these matches or if it's a slightly different one. I think there's a Valentine AT, you know, the Valentine anti-tank, and basically I think I one-shot him because a lot of the TDs do have you know, lower health. It sort of compensates for the more powerful guns. But you can see here the Crusader, the tier 4. Is it the Crusader or is it the Covenant? Again, small preview screen, but he was just bouncing off the front. Probably stock, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it can be a bit of a bully in tier 4 matches. Now, I don't know if I mentioned in the garage, but basically what you've got with the up-armoured side of it is you've been reduced sort of heavy tank mobility, but you've got that kind of heavy tank firepower, or you would have, you know, if there were heavies. Well, there are heavies down at tier 4, you know what I mean. But yeah, it kind of does remind me more of a pseudo-heavy. One thing it will change in tier 4 matchmaking is Matildas. Matildas in a tier 4 match are used to a certain level of impunity. They are very, very tough tanks, and there is a lot of stuff that if you do a bit of angling or even keep it sort of slightly medium range for some of the other stuff, there is a hell of a lot that just bounces off the Matilda. This does not. As you could see there, this does not, so it will kind of change the matchmaking with regards to Matildas. But there you go. The Honor T-28E. Again, another one I don't think I'm going to be picking up myself. I found it fun and frustration in sort of equal measures. But there you go, it's up to you whether you want to pick it up or not. I've just tried to give you the details, show you what it could be capable of in a match, and just show you it sort of, you know, in game. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one personally myself, but I think I'm leaning towards probably leaving this one. I'm still waiting for heavy tank number 6 for the Japanese, so we'll have to wait and see when that actually hits the stores. But there you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's been informative, and hopefully now you'll be able to make a more informed decision as to whether you would like to pick one of those up, or just save your money and wait for something that sort of takes your interest a little bit more. So there you go. Just quickly, sorry it didn't go up yesterday. I have been having a couple of health issues recently. Those of you that have sort of been watching for a while know I have a lot of problems with my knees, and unfortunately my left foot had been swollen up for about a week quite badly, so I've had to sort of go to the doctors about that. It's taken a bit of time out of what I've been doing, etc, etc. But I'm just going to try and get back to uploading one video a day and sort of get back to well, get back to normality, I suppose. But anyway, I'm finally going now, rambling on for a while, so hopefully I will be back later on with today's video, if all goes to plan. And until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.